Hello guys, welcome back to the channel, the Manga Man here, and today we're talking about One Piece chapter 1014 or 1014. It feels like it's been a while since I've done any kind of activity really on my channel other than One Piece. But being that One Piece was the last chapter I reviewed, is where I want to start, and then we'll hopefully go from there. I will endeavour to catch up in everything else, and I will endeavour to try to be more consistent. But without further ado, let's get into this review. So, an interesting chapter this time round. Quite simple, and I do want to really cover the basics of what happens here, because ultimately there's so much you can talk about in this chapter, and there are people out there that really do a good job and have the audience, and you can go check them out, such as Morg and Brago DAs, and the list goes on. Soy 7 Mage is one of my favourites, Teching 101. So feel free to check them out. But more importantly with this, I think what this chapter really ultimately does, it ultimately tells you that basically the Straw Hats or anyone that we've seen recently isn't going to save Luffy, because Luffy is basically in the water. Because some of the theories were that, oh yeah, Momonosuke's gonna fly, or somebody's going to go fly and save him and he's going to be fine. He's basically in the water. He's shown to be drowning, and that's a done thing. The only glimmer of hope for Luffy at this point is that by the end of the chapter, we don't know how long it's been from the beginning of the chapter to the end in terms of time span, but by the end of the chapter, the island is relatively close to the mainland. So there is always a chance of him being washed up ashore. So that's the only thing that we get from that. Other than that, we don't get told in any flashbacks by any capacity what happened, which means something important did happen for this outcome to be kind of skipped. It's going to be whoever's going to be the final battle is going to be a thing where this is what Luffy's learned, and we're going to see it. It's not been the first time he's been defeated by a powerful opponent, and generally in the second or third attempt that he tends to do. Okay, that's kind of the structure in a lot of the battles we've had up until now. Happened kind of with Rob Lucci, happened with Sir Crocodile. It's how it is. Same thing with Doflamingo, kind of. You don't have Haki, that sort of thing. So the formula is already there. It's what route is Oda going to take to make this make sense in the grand scheme of things. Because what you must ultimately bear in mind is Luffy's 19 years old, and he's only now established an understanding of coating his techniques with the Conqueror's King Haki. It's mentioned, yeah, you managed to do that, but your technique leaves room for improvement. And you've got to think Kaido's basically been doing this for a very long time. He's not been Yonko overnight or something like that. He's built up his reputation and he's become this formidable character. So his technique will show that as well. Although he's a bit rough around the edges because he likes a good old beating himself, the little Sado. Anyway, so once we have established that he's fallen out of the water, Kaido tells everybody the outcome of the fight and he enters the castle, and then we basically get a roundup of what everybody else is doing and their reaction. So we see Brooke is there, we see Robin, we see Jinbei, we see Frankie, we basically see everybody, and realistically there's shock, there's surprise, and then there's disbelief. And the disbelief comes from the Straw Hats, because they are not going to surrender and they don't believe that Luffy's down for good. They trusted the captain. That's basically what that means. And for Sanji and Zoro to have that exact same expression, like, yeah, right, perfectly up there as the right and left hand men of the future Pirate King, Luffy. So what really else happens in this chapter? I mean, the key thing really is we know that Yamato is on her way. She's moving, and people are trying to fight against her. We know what happens with Kiku. Now, the whole thing with Kiku for me, it's, I think Oda knows exactly how to make you feel. He makes you, care about people. He makes you not care about people. And ultimately, one of the person I cared about was Odin. Not really the scabbards. It's not really resonated with me. I mean, do I want them to die? No, but it's like, does it really mean anything at this point that Kiku couldn't attack who she knew was Kanjuro, but ultimately got stabbed because of it, and she's down. She's down. Ashirodoji's down. Nico's busy. Inurashi's busy. Kinemon's just been taken out by Kaido. And everyone else is everyone else. Raizo is fighting against the leader of the Omiwabanchu, whatever that phrase is. The ninja, Mr. Alos, I'll call him. And then, everyone else is everywhere else. So the issue you have here is they're just kind of being put out the way, and all it really seems like to me is this is kind of the point where the pressure and the stakes are going to be elevated, where it's going to seem more dire. This is the low point that's going to end this act, so to speak, and then we're going to start rebuilding for the final act of this arc. The issue you have with this is ultimately it looks like the raid was always set to fail, because the goalposts have kept moving. Because first it was, we need to take down Kaido now. They attack him. He goes to the roof. They go. We're gonna take him down on the roof. Okay, cool. Then we get the supernovas up there. Okay, cool. Then we get two Yonkos up there, Kaido and Big Mom. Okay, cool. That's the next goalpost. They separate. Okay, that's the next goalpost. 1-on-1. That's the next goalpost. So there's always these little movements of goalpost that make you think that, oh, this is the final battle. Ultimately, it looks like for the alliance to truly succeed, this setback needs to happen for them to really truly believe, because it's kind of like of an abusive relationship right now. Kaido's basically been abusing Wano citizens all the last 20 years or so, and he's even pretty much doing that now. Say, look, if you give up, I'll let you go. You can join me and it's fine. And there's going to be people that will say yes, because that's all they know. But there's going to be people that say no. And the hope is that there's enough hope in this alliance that they will say no, and they'll basically go down on the sword, go down swinging, so to speak, so that when the dire straits do hit, when we really do get to rock bottom, we can then rise up, elevate, and then hit that counter attack. Because really the main thing is Luffy's not out of the way. How he gets back is going to be, your guess is as good as mine. You've got so many options. Is he going to get saved by someone that's already on the floating island of Onigashima? Very unlikely. The only one that's really, possibly going to do that, it can't. And these options are not in any particular order, but they're all varying in possibilities. So let's kind of go through them. Number one, something to do with a giant being or an ancient being that is linked to Momo. Because Momo read something in his book. He started having a fit, and that only happened when something was talking to him. And this is possibly also something that happened to Luffy, because he's in the same boat. Is that Zunisha? Are the minks coming? Is that part of like the backup? Are fishmen coming, and have they brought like sea kings with them? Is it a situation where they're gonna get saved by the alliance that's under the Straw Hats, the Grand Fleet? Is the submarine gonna be put in play for Law's crew? There's a few number of options there. You pick whichever one suits you, and let's kind of move forward, because it's gonna be hard to pinpoint exactly what's gonna happen, but at some point he's gonna get back in the battle. The point is, for me, is we don't know how he's gonna get from A to B, but in that time while he's away, he needs to recover, realize his mistakes, refocus, and somehow come back stronger. The issue you have is now that he's established the ability to deal haki damage with Conqueror's haki, he needs to be as fresh as possible to really take advantage of that. Then if you look at everybody else, you got people that are like, the Scabbards are down, some of the Tobiropo are down. It's not really concrete, so like who's fighting who now, we don't really know. Some people are, but it just doesn't seem consistent. The battle lines were drawn, but they've basically been blurred. Ultimately, between Luffy returning, all these other matchups need resolving. Like the whole thing with Chopper. Chopper has improved his ability to last longer in Monster Point, but there's a risk attached to it, and he's not doing damage to Queen. The whole thing with King fighting against Marco, all these seem like basically keeping him busy. Now we've got Mr. Pereperin throwing arrows. Where's Neko? We don't know. So these things need to be ironed out. Ultimately, I'm hoping that Zoro can get into the battle very soon, and we can get that moving along, and hopefully them can be resolved before we start moving into getting the final battle, whether it's one-on-one Luffy versus Kaido, or if it's the 9-on-1 with the Supernova and Yamato or 9 other people, a combination of that deal with him. We're gonna have to wait and see who's the lurking legend, who's the final the boss. All these things we've got to establish and correct before the end of this arc. The arc for me it seems kind of like at its halfway point. So there's gonna be a big chunk that we're missing, and hopefully we'll find out very soon. Without further ado, and I must bid you adieu. Peace, and see you next time. Take it easy. Bye.